Hi, this is Danny. I am the creator of Skin Harmonics, the very first Medi-Holistic skin resurfacing methodology, skincare line, and system. And today I want to talk about something called skin cycling. And skin cycling is this idea that we should rest our skin from a lot of really intense actives. And I think this has been very interesting to me to watch because the industry, the whole world of corrective skincare was, discovered. Well, if we go let's take this way back. It was in the 1900s when scientists discovered that if they removed somebody's epidermis, that the dermis has the ability to replace it. Now, just because that's a function of the dermal layer doesn't mean that we should necessarily do that to it, because the price we pay for that is intense dermal thinning and accelerated aging in the long term. So that kind of is the backstory of how corrective and trauma-based procedures even took root in the 1930s, the 1950s, and on and on and on. And so now we have this modern strategy for corrective skincare, especially in America, who pioneered this as far as if we want to improve our skin, we've got to pretty much traumatize it. Now, this is an outdated strategy because what we know now is that it's all about stimulating positive blood flow. And what goes along with that stimulation of positive blood flow is actually supplying our skin with the resources to manufacture new skin cells. So it boils down to the right amount of exercise, rest, and nutrients, and of course, hydration. So these are universal concepts, and that's Skin Harmonics has basically applied those concepts to our skin so that we can resurface our skin in a way that's natural, truly natural, holistic, and we get incredible results. So back to this whole topic of skin cycling, it's this idea that we traumatize our skin and then we let it rest, and then we traumatize it again and then we let it rest. And my whole idea around this is why are we traumatizing it to begin with? And then we don't have to let it rest, So it's sort of we have what I call, it's bipolar skincare, where we're really mean and then we're really nice. And that's essentially what skin cycling is when we apply it to, the conventional skincare system. So that's what skin cycling is. And with Skin Harmonics, there's this whole idea of let's feed our skin and then maybe take a rest from the resources, because we can overstimulate and overfeed our skin. And give it too many nutrients to make new skin cells with and cause a little bit of inflammation. So in my system, it's not about being mean and then being nice to our skin or letting it rest. It's about how can we find that right amount of dermal nutrients that's going to meet our skin's appetite perfectly so that we can optimize resurfacing and take our skin all the way through a really deep acne detox, or lift pigment out of our skin. And also, how can we preserve the dermal mattress that we have by fortifying it rather than depleting it? So skin cycling, in the conventional sense, is speaking to how we over-exercise our skin, withhold nutrients, and then we give it 1 or 2 days off. So that's skin cycling. And it also is making me think of this bigger issue around this, where this whole skin cycling thing, has come out with we need to rest our skin. And then the other thing that's come out recently, or more over the last year, is lasers that don't harm our skin, lasers that are gentle, lasers that, aren't causing damage. And I find this so entertaining and interesting, because the industry for is, 50, 60 years has been like pushing us, head first into trauma. This chemical peel, this laser, stronger acids, deeper, bigger, thicker microneedling. Like the whole industry is trauma based in this way, where it's like bigger, more trauma to get more inflammation, more fluid in the skin. Like, and we're basically getting the opposite results. And this is something, there's a doctor called, his name is Dr. Ben Johnson. He's out of Colorado. He's the founder of Osmosis and the inventor of the topical dermal nutrients that I've magnified. And he got clued into this, years ago, and that was why he invented the dermal nutrients. But he was also headfirst in this industry and was very invested, and he had to just pull out and say, we're making people's skin worse. So I discovered the same thing in my own way, working with skin over the last 30 years. So I find this very interesting that the whole industry has been like cheerleading trauma and pushing trauma to the hilt. And then all of a sudden, in the last few years, they're backpedaling a little bit. And they're saying, oh, well, but they're not going to quite admit to doing harm to people. Like, I'll just admit it. I gave chemical peels and microdermabrasion and intense clinical conventional medical treatments for about 6 years when I got out of school. I did it. I just own it. And I chose a different path and created a whole different way that actually does give results, that's not reliant on trauma. But the industry at a large can't come out and say that, because it's all tuned to that. And they're going to start coming out with like gentle lasers. They're going to introduce softly these ideas of like, let's do skin cycling where we're not harming our skin every day. And so I just, when somebody brought to me this idea of skin cycling, it just made me think about all of these things. And so the final thing that I want to say about this topic is how that's this whole trend now to be natural, and it's here to stay, because it is inherently the most intelligent thing that we could be doing for our lives, not just for our skin. And there's this whole constant promotion of natural. And I have clients that are constantly sending me links to products, to makeup and to skincare lines. And when you get in there and you look at the ingredients, yes, they might have 1 or 2 organic ingredients. Yes, they might be using more naturals than they did years ago, but they're still filled with microplastics, with not natural preservatives, dyes, synthetic fragrances, perfumes. And on top of this, all of their containering has not changed. And so one of my favorite things about Skin Harmonics is that I have a bulk refill system, and I don't have refillable plastic containers that are just, we're not throwing away. I'm not using single-use disposable containers. We're refilling like almost all of the products that I sell from bulk glass containers that prevent us having to clog our poor planet. So I just want to like speak to these 3 things when I was introduced to this new buzzword of skin cycling. All of this other stuff came tumbling up in me about, why would we traumatize our skin in the first place? Oh, because that's how we've done it in the past. Never mind that there's been another way that's been forged that's in way more effective. And why would we need to rest our skin from trauma? But even I myself rest and are measuring, when we're giving our skin food and resources, we don't want to overwhelm our skin either. And then this whole, I have had probably 6 people send me links to gentle lasers this year, where they're still crossing that line of creating way too much inflammation in our skin to be beneficial. And then of course, this whole overuse of the word natural and eco skin products when the reality is they're still using a whole slew of ingredients and they're still using single-use containers. So that's my way in on skin cycling and everything that's connected to skin cycling, and just to this old messaging that I think this is the first signs that there's cracks in the story and that it's starting to unravel this old narrative about how beneficial trauma-based procedures are for our skin. So I think this is just the beginning of the end in a widespread sense. And yeah, go to my website, keep opening my newsletters. And the only way that we can put a better system in place for our skin and for our lives is through education and through just the awareness that there is another way to be with our skin and in our lives that does not, require trauma looping. And this includes, our skincare routines. So, all right, thanks for listening to me, and I will see you.